Thank you very much, Lynn. Well, this one will keep you awake, I promise. So strap in, because I'm going to move pretty quickly. Firstly, I'm going to talk a little bit about the theory related to this, then provide you with the evidence base for the use of music in sport and exercise, and then look at some of the applications with elite athletes over my 30-odd years working with them. Just to give you one example, this song. I'm a scat man. This is Haile Gebrselassie song to break the world record. It suits his running stride. He says that song is perfect for running. It may be perfect for him, it wouldn't be perfect for us because he runs much faster than we do. But he broke the first world record running to that track in Birmingham in 1998. And although they ratified the world record, they then declared that that use of music to be illegal in sport because they said it's cheating. So there is an implicit recognition that sport has a performance-enhancing effect, that music has a performance-enhancing effect, or an ergogenic effect, as we sometimes call it. I'll just give you a little bit of the theory, which we developed. We've been researching this for 20-odd years, and this is our theoretical model that if you look at the right-hand side of there, where improved performance sits, you can see that there are a number of things that combine to enhance performance. The far left, as in most things, personal and situational variables always influence the processes that follow, and I'm going to look just very briefly at that. So, for example, our background, our musical preferences, and in fact our just inherent reactivity to music will influence how it impacts upon us. And so you might expect that a Chinese gymnast, for example, would want different music to Brazilian sailors. And the situational factors that are particularly relevant here are the type of sport or exercise, whether this is in training or competition, generally the perceived importance of the event. People actually save their best music for the most important events, and the type of effect that is sought, and there are so many to choose from. So, again, you'd expect a boxer to choose different music to an archer, although sometimes the choice of music and the effects of those music are surprising. The sorts of effects that people in sport typically seek either are to relax themselves or to motivate themselves, to generate a sense of calmness, sometimes aggression, sometimes precision, endurance, and almost any other quality you can think of. If we look at the next part of the model, which is, I suppose, the mediators, that humans are the only species that have this natural predisposition to synchronize their movement to music. Some people call it dancing, but it is something that is quite inherent in us. Obviously, the musicality, the specifics of the music, the volume, the tempo, the lyrics, they all have a big impact, as does the cultural impact of the society that you're from or the one you were brought up in. And very importantly are the associations that a particular piece of music holds for us. So, for example, I spent a year working in Brunei with 22 different sports. Most of the athletes were Muslims. This was the bowls team there. You'd expect them to choose different music to the Brazilian football team, but they didn't. The associations, this is a classic one, associations of overcoming adversity, the Rocky movies. Hopefully the music will play here. This one, almost a cliche for people in sport and exercise. Do you use the Rocky theme? I try to avoid it like the plague, but you can see that what people say about it. That quote there on the right represents an exerciser and how that person uses that theme and the images of Rocky to help them in their training. I'm just going to give you the evidence base now, a meta-analytic review. The first study was in 1911, and it's obviously still going. It's accelerating, if anything. This is in the final stages of review for Psychological Bulletin. And so we looked at studies from 1911 to 2013. We had 107 studies that met our inclusion criteria and 206 effect sizes. Essentially, what you see here is confirmation that you get a positive benefit from all the studies that have been done on our feelings. Music enhances our feelings, no surprise there, but it does more than that. It actually optimizes our heart rate, so we get lower heart rate for the same amount of work with music than without. Similarly for oxygen consumption, about 1 to 2% benefit when we exercise with music to when we're exercising without, which means it's not just a psychological phenomenon. It affects our physiology. Many fMRI studies have shown the reactions in the brain when listening to music, and a lot of these are associated with the same activation related to high performance. You get about a 10% reduction in perceived exertion when you're exercising with music than without. So people feel they're working less hard and therefore go on for a little longer. And with the most number of studies, 80 studies there, you get this small to moderate effect on performance. And it's across a whole range of performance, from 60-metre sprinting, 400-metre sprinting, 200-metre swimming. We did studies with triathletes where we ran them to exhaustion, and they ran for 18% longer with music than without. And these are world-class athletes. So that is quite an astonishing benefit. Some of the moderation effects, the benefits are greater in exercise than in sport. They're greater for low to moderate intensity activity. One of the benefits is that it masks the bodily signals of exertion and fatigue. And that only works up to a point. When you're really fatigued, the music can't distract you from those. That's one mechanism by which it occurs. You generally get bigger effects with untrained participants than with highly trained participants. You see, we're going to get a performance benefit from this music, perhaps. And that's a simple ceiling effect, that the untrained people have greater scope for improvement. There isn't as much moderation as you might think. There was no moderation for gender or age, for music type, for music selection, for music delivery, whether it was pre-task, in tune with the music or just in the background, study setting and type of physical activity. What that means, those lack of moderation, means that there's a huge pool of music that is generally beneficial in the sport and exercise settings, and there are not as many ifs and buts as we perhaps thought. I'll just give you some examples now from elite athletes. We're looking here primarily at enhancing pre-task psychological mindset, you could say, influencing our moods, emotions, feelings, even trying to generate flow and reduce anxiety. And we're looking at the improvements, objective improvements in performance. So this is one of the British athletes who won 2 gold medals in 2000 and 2004. He was one of my students when I was in London. And this was his music. This is the one that wasn't playing. That's why we had that technical difficulty. And it's still not playing. It's a very aggressive song, you might say. Red Hot Chili Peppers, Get on Top. It's very dramatic, very hard driving. And this is what he said about it. It's vaguely aggressive and powerful, but it's also familiar. So it serves a joint purpose. It makes you relax a bit because it's familiar. I like it. It also winds you up at the same time. So sometimes these things are a little more sophisticated than just sticking on any old song. And people think long and hard about what might be the best song for them. This was where I was working in Brunei. You can see me in the top right with this nice uniform on and the hat. I still wear that on a Saturday night sometimes. And this was the group, and I thought they would choose Malay music. I thought they might choose Islamic music. They actually chose Queen as their song. Not playing. Oh well, let me just take that back. The song here, it's a kind of magic. It has these lyrics about one dream, one soul, one prize, one goal. And that really helped them to bond as a group. They thought that was really identified the collective goal perfectly. But more than that, in bowls, when you release the bowl, it doesn't go in a straight line. It's weighted on one side. It comes around like this. So there was another line in there that said one shaft of light that shows the way. So this benefited their visualization of that shaft of light that showed the way to the jack. And it worked very well for them. Very small country, Brunei, don't usually win medals. They won 47 medals in that SEA Games. Music for rehabilitation. This was one of my athletes I'd worked with for 16 years. She was world champion. She then suffered from chronic fatigue syndrome. And during that period where you have to rest and gradually reintroduce the training load, she used music to great effect. You see it in that lower photograph. She's got sunglasses on that have an MP3 player built into them, so she could train listening to music. And I think I've got the song here. This was her song that she trained to. So she paddled in time to it. Very rhythmical. It also summed up to her that she was like a bird learning to fly again. So there was great symbolism in this song. And she used it actually to slow her down, because she was a sort of person who would train too hard, hence falling into chronic fatigue syndrome. And so it just maintained a nice rhythm that didn't risk her relapsing. And so it worked very well. And then she had a different song which she saved for the World Championships. It was a song from the movie Ali, World's Greatest. And that was the thing. She played that song endlessly to mentally rehearse the race. And as it turned out, things materialised just as she'd seen them in her mind's eye. And the song really captured every aspect of that. I worked with Malaysia for the Asian Games in 2006, and here, the guy to my right there, Inspector Gadget I used to call him, he had every gadget under the sun, and one of which was this brain buddy. The use of a brain buddy with shooters, it uses the flicker response of these glasses he's wearing there. It flickers ultraviolet light to generate alpha waves in his brain, which is associated with being very calm and relaxed, which is the state you need. And we'd use the music because the music intensified the response. So he actually, after 5 minutes of listening to the music and using the flicker response, he actually was a different person. It was very dramatic to see. Didn't win any medals. He wasn't good enough. Now, the greatest devotee of music before is Michael Phelps, of course, the greatest Olympian of all time. He won 8 gold medals in Beijing. And this is what he said. He likes hip-hop and rap. And his song for Beijing, the number one question on the blogs for the Beijing Olympics is, what music is Michael Phelps listening to? And this was it. No, it's not. I can tell you it's actually a rap song by called Lil Wayne, and it goes, yes, I'm the best, and no, I ain't positive, I'm definite, I know the game like I'm reffing it. That's the only lines that don't have expletives in it. It's a very aggressive song. But one of the first things that Michael Phelps did when he got back to America after winning his 8 gold medals was he went to see Lil Wayne to thank him personally for the inspiration he'd provided. And for him, it is absolutely central to what he does. You've all seen, of course, the haka, and if you're on the receiving end of that, you'll know that it's not exactly a song, but it's a challenge, and it's difficult to meet that without some fear of trepidation. Just to summarise, the effects of music are powerful but individualised. The variety of effects are possible, applications for both training and competition, but the specific choice of music is critical. And I'm just going to finish very, very quickly by telling you I have given you a gift, and it's a book. It's the world's first Creative Commons licensed textbook on sport and exercise psychology. It's called Secrets of Asian Sports Psychology. It's online at that address. It's a free download, and it includes things such as archery in Korea. Hey, it even includes cricket in Sri Lanka, the roar of the lions. It includes things, why the Chinese gymnasts so good, why are the All Blacks so good, Indian shooters, Australian cyclists, and so on. It's at that address. Don't be afraid to download it, 1 chapter at a time or all at once. It's a really good book. I'm not getting anything from it except a warm and fuzzy feeling. Thank you for that. We've now finished. Thank you. Good night.
Is there a difference if it's only music or if it has lyrics to it?
Well, both can work. It's not a good strategy to try and disaggregate things, whether it's the lyrics or it's the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. But songs without lyrics can be just as effective. It depends very much on the associations that you build up. Sometimes it is inherent in the lyrics, but often it is associated with that performance. And so people are very specific about who sings the song. It has a different impact, or who plays the music. So The answer is both can work. Lyrics tend to add another dimension. Yeah.
Thank you. Have you looked at music which is detrimental to people's performance? So is there such a thing? And have you looked at it?
Yeah, some people who are not really into music, or are not very reactive to music, do find music to be a distraction. And given that that's one of its benefits, is distraction, that's logical. Some people don't like it in certain situations. They don't like it when they're trying to learn a new skill, for example. So there is a downside to this. We have tested music that people didn't like with those triathletes. And although their psychological responses were less positive, in performance terms, it worked just as well. So people might get benefits from it despite the fact they don't like the music.
Thank you, Professor Terry.
Thank you.